What's up, everyone? Welcome into DodgerHeads, presented by DodgerBlue.com, part of the Blue Wire Podcast Network. My name is Jeff Spiegel, joined today by Matthew Moreno. We're looking to put a brutal game last night behind us, Matt, and look forward both to today's game, yes, but maybe even further forward with some news we got yesterday. We want to talk about the playoff rotation. I know that, Matt, no Dodgers fans are really concerned about this. Everybody seems to feel very confident. Would you say that's a fair assessment of the folks you've interacted with?
Sure. If anybody who's watching this was with Anthony and I in our live show last night, you know that we discussed the starting rotation and bullpen at length and kind of repeatedly from a bunch of different angles. And yes, let's just say it was a lively discussion about the Dodgers pitching staff and the outlook for October. I'll leave it at that. If you really want to go see, pull up the podcast, pull up the video, and go check it out for yourself.
As we sit here today, there is one. I used to say 2 or 3 sure things. I think there's one sure thing now that barring something crazy happening, Jack Flaherty will be in the Dodgers rotation and will be pitching on normal rest. If there is a second thing we are most confident in, let's go to the next pitcher, and that would be Yoshinobu Yamamoto. By all accounts, seems to be doing fine coming back from his injury. However, it has been clarified, and this is nothing new. This would have been the case seemingly even if he had been healthy all season, as he has yet to pitch on what a guy like Jack Flaherty would consider normal rest. He will not be pitching on normal rest at any point during the postseason. So a minimum of 5 days off in between starts for Yamamoto into the postseason. That's the first bit of news. And Roberts basically said, this is the plan all along. Do you think this is a big deal, no deal, a little deal? Where are you at?
It's a big deal. With an understanding that the Dodgers, this was their plan, regardless of, and nobody, like Anthony and I were saying last night, nobody would have forecasted, even, even me, who's brought up, hey, they've run out of pitchers the last 2 years come October. This is a new extreme. This is the most depth I feel like they've had to tap into now between this season, last year, and the year before. So it's with an understanding that, pretty much regardless of what was going to unfold throughout Yamamoto's first season with the team, I still say that it's a big deal because I don't think the Dodgers could have ever imagined being in this situation with their pitching staff.
Yeah.
All of that being said, I don't think that they would have necessarily, I don't want to say compromised, but would have pushed Yamamoto to start on MLB regular rest, if that's what we want to refer it to for the sake of some clarity throughout the season, just because he is coming from Japan where he pitched once a week. And that was a big storyline when the Dodgers signed him to, the record-setting contract, was how are they going to work with his schedule and get him adjusted and this and that. And they use a 6-man rotation without calling it a 6-man rotation throughout the season anyway. So that wasn't going to be much of an adjustment for them.
Yeah.
But I think in the playoffs now, because you don't have a lot of your, namely Tyler Glass now, but a lot of your, even Gavin Stone, who emerged as a really strong contributor for them, not having those guys and being, kind of one hand tied behind your back with Yamamoto, it is a big deal right now.
Yeah. Yeah, to your point, as a refresher, Dodgers starting pitchers currently on the injured list: Gavin Stone, Clayton Kershaw, River Ryan, Tyler Glasnow, Dustin May, Emmett Sheehan, and Tony Gonsolin. You can guess where I have these guys slotted, but this is how I have them ranked. The guys currently on the Dodgers injured list, if everybody was healthy, I believe they would represent the number 1, the number 4, the number 5, the number 6, the number 7, the number 9, and the number 11 starting pitcher on the Dodgers 40-man roster. So to your point, that's 7 guys who are injured and 5 of the top 7 pitchers within the organization, 6 of the top 9. So if you're looking for a 4th starter, I've got that 4th starter as basically the 10th best option if all guys were healthy, for some context. So to your point, the fact that even with, number 2, Yamamoto, who I would probably have either 2 or 3 with Flaherty on that list, that guy can't go on short rest or even normal rest. MLB normal rest, I think, is a good clarification by you. That does, I agree, seem to me a big deal. Let's talk about some of the other guys, because 2 of the guys on the list I just mentioned might actually be options come the postseason. Let's start with Clayton Kershaw. Kershaw was asked how things were going. His quote, tell me if you've heard one of these words before, Matt. He said, I am hopeful these next 12 days I can be back out there. I am remaining optimistic. That was Kershaw's quote. He's hopeful and he's optimistic. we have never been led astray by the words hopeful and optimistic, Matt. Where are you at on Clayton Kershaw? And if you think this is a guy we're going to see taking the ball in a postseason start for the Dodgers?
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, I don't think this isn't answering your question specifically, but it ties, like, I don't think we're going to see him in the regular season.
Yeah, I agree.
I just feel like there's not necessarily enough time for him to recover. Like, he's still, to the best of my knowledge, hasn't thrown off like a real mound. He's been using the makeshift one that was set up in the outfield a couple times. So I don't see him in the regular season.
And the
I'm not
minor
sh-
league season, by the way, is going to be
Yeah,
ending in the next few days. So the rehab appearances are out the window. Simulated games, maybe, but just for
right.
context, Oklahoma City, I believe, has 4 or 5 games remaining in their season.
Yeah. And that's another wrinkle. Like, that's a factor in all of this. All that being said, like, if Kershaw does get to a position where he is like healthy and able to throw off a mound without any pain or minimal pain, he's able to manage it. Because again, like, what's also hard with all of this is the bone spur was, everything was revealed to us at once. A,
Yeah.
he has a bone spur. B, Kershaw's been pitching with it for multiple years, according to Dave Roberts. So
Yeah.
like, I'm assuming that at various times there was some levels of discomfort and pain. So if Kershaw can manage it, would it fully surprise me if the Dodgers say, like, okay, fine, like, we don't, we just went over it. They don't have a lot of other options, right?
NLDS rehab appearance. Is that what you're telling me, Matt?
More or less. Like, I mean, it's not like that big of a
Yeah.
stretch, right? But the flip side is, if something happens and he can't, like, it's a repeat of what we saw in Arizona where he can't get through, the second inning, and you have to potentially take him off your, like, can they afford to risk that in the playoffs? Like, I don't necessarily know.
Yeah, it's an interesting spot. I mean, I will say with Kershaw, this is a veteran guy that you feel like you can trust. And if there's somebody who maybe doesn't need to sort of get his reps in real time, I believe Kershaw's probably that guy. And then it comes down to who are the other options. So before we kind of land the plane a little bit with the information we have, let's talk about the other guy of note. Gavin Stone, by the way, we don't have an update as far as I know. So he's not going to be the guy you're getting an update on. I'm just going to apologize. We'd give you one if we have it. He was expected to throw, I should say, at some point this weekend. It is now Wednesday morning, and as of late last night, we had not heard anything on the Gavin Stone front. So the last player to talk about here is Tony Gonsolin, and this has been sort of this mysterious. Are we starting to throw? What are we going to do? I mean, they're getting desperate to a point where I think we're now eagerly anticipating the return of Tony Gonsolin. The latest we have on him is that he will make another rehab start with Oklahoma City. He's going to try and get through 4 innings, and that after that, there will be, quote, a conversation about whether he can start, or excuse me, whether he can help the Los Angeles Dodgers. I can help them with that conversation. He definitely can help them. Have they seen anything in the last 2 weeks? There is no doubt in my mind. Whatever your thoughts on Tony Gonsolin are, he can help them for sure.
Yeah, that to me is going to be a very short conversation. It would be hey, can he help us? Yes. Okay, great. Then to me, the conversation becomes, now what role are we going to have him in, right? And that's something that Dave Roberts has initially, when Gonsolin started playing catch at Camelback Ranch, and it was saying, he's sort of progressing with his recovery. Dave Roberts kept saying, he's a slim chance to return this season, and if he does, it would be out of the bullpen. Now he's allowing and acknowledging the fact, which makes sense. Like, this isn't me like bashing on Dave and him saying something that was wrong. Like, the Dodgers are changing their calculus because they pretty much have to. And there's a world now where Gonsolin potentially starts games, and if he can get to 4 innings in his rehab start this weekend with Oklahoma City, theoretically he's built up to about 5 come the playoffs type thing. And that would be like, that's the natural progression. But granted, there would be adrenaline, there would be all sorts of stuff. Like, if he's not efficient, they're not going to say, well, he's built up to go 5 innings, leave him in there no matter what. Like, he might only excuse me, he might only give them 3 or 4 innings in a playoff start. But I wouldn't be shocked if he is basically your game 4 starter in the NLDS, if that's what it boils down to. I think the safest bet is to just say he's going to be on their pitching staff.
Yeah, I mean, and look, Gonsolin is I would say, even when he's healthy, seemingly a controversial guy among Dodgers fans. It's interesting because if I told you Tony Gonsolin's career ERA, like if I told you to imagine what you think his career ERA is, I guarantee you the number I'm about to tell you is lower than what you think. His career, do you want to take a guess at this, Matt, what Tony Gonsolin's career ERA is?
I was going, well, so I would have guessed like 3.35.
Yeah, so it's 3.19 is his career ERA. That's across 71 starts, 375 innings, parts of 4 different seasons. Now, the caveat, 2023, the last time we saw him, by far his worst season of his career, an ERA of almost 5. The expected ERA was almost 6. The 3 previous years, the expected ERA was between 3.3 and 3.8, so it was very good on the expected stuff. So what they can get out of him remains a mystery. Obviously, he hasn't pitched at all. But I think this goes back to, like, if we land the plane here, we're not making assumptions. We're not assuming anybody's going to stay healthy. I want to make that clear. With the information we currently have, you tell me if you disagree with any of these. I think Yamamoto and Flaherty are game 1 and game 2 starters. It's probably Yamamoto in game 1, just because if he has to sit out for 5 days in between, you might as well get that first start in as quickly as possible. But let's just say that's 1 and that's 2 in some order. Then I think, to me, Gavin Stone, like, I am on the highly unlikely we see Gavin Stone again, given no update a couple days after we were supposed to get an update. He is still not throwing. It is September 18th. He is still not throwing. I've got Gavin Stone as highly doubtful, which means as it currently stands, I have Walker Buehler in the number 3 spot. I think Kershaw, if he's available, is the game 4 starter. And I think Gonsolin is the backup plan to the game 4 starter. To your point, probably on the playoff rotation as a potential, maybe he's a piggyback guy to Clayton Kershaw, or he's a pick up the pieces type of guy at some point. But I know people aren't going to love that. Like, I just know they're not going to love it. I'm not telling you I love it. But if I had told you 2 months ago that Buehler and Kershaw were getting penciled into game 3 and game 4, we might have had a riot. But I think that's where I'm at. Any disagreements on what I just said as it relates to Stone, those 2 guys, or even Gonsolin?
Not really. I mean, and maybe it's the hopeful part of me wanting to believe that at some point maybe Gavin Stone, and it might not even be the NLDS. Maybe it's going to be a scenario, take it back a couple years with Max Muncy, where, hey, if the Dodgers advance, then maybe Max Muncy is like, maybe we're going to get those types of things with Gavin Stone. It is kind of hard considering, he was shut down for at least 10 days. Like, and that was their plan, like right off the bat, was injured list, shut down for 10 days, no throwing. And when that happens for a pitcher, like, you kind of reset their clock completely, and it's not a quick buildup.
Yeah, and now we're at day 12, day 13, day 14 of, as far as we know, and I'm sure the beat reporters would have been asking the question if and telling us if he had been throwing.
Yeah, I'm inclined to believe so as well. And so, maybe we'll get an update today after this video is live, and then we can cover it in our next live show after that. But yeah, I mean, looking at the current state of things, and as you said, the information we have available right now, like, it's hard to see a scenario where the only, like, change I think that I could see in that is maybe like Gonsolin being a game 4 starter because Kershaw's not available.
Yeah.
And that's not necessarily like it's not getting Tyler Glasnow back, right? And you're saying, hey, things are good. Like, that's almost a toss. I mean, considering we've seen Kershaw pitch this year, and when he is healthy, quote unquote, to our best of our knowledge, like, he was effective.
Yeah.
So
effective, I mean, the right word. He has not been great, but he has been effective.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't see right now a scenario where that rotation that you laid out are not like the 4 or 5 starters, if you want to include Gonsolin. And I know, I'm sure in the comments we're going to get Landon Knack responses. What worries me about Knack is his home run rate.
Yeah.
And I think that the Dodgers will be mindful of that. And hey, you mentioned that people might not be thrilled with Gonsolin. I'll point out that he could be the multi-inning relief pitcher that everybody's been clamoring for since they traded Yarbrough away. So Dave Roberts the other day gave a clubhouse speech.
Yeah, fired him up.
Fans wanted him. They've been saying he needs to light a fire under them a little bit. He did that. Now the Dodgers are giving fans their long relief pitcher back.
Yeah, not 9 runs, 3 games in a row. I mean, what's not to love? Oh, except for the pitching absolutely collapsing last night. So let us know what you think in the comments below. Obviously, I'll mention this bullpen game also in play. I personally find it hard to believe that they would say, hey, Clayton Kershaw, you're going to take a seat so we can throw a bullpen game. Maybe I'm wrong, especially if Yamamoto's got his weird schedule. Do they want to tax the bullpen like that? Remains to be seen. But that is, I would say, Knack and bullpen game should be mentioned. I'm not sure the Robleskis, the Kaspariuses of the world, definitely not Bobby Miller, are a part of that conversation. So let us know your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear it. As Matt said, we will give you updates here on this channel, on DodgerBlue.com, DodgerBlue1958 on social media. As soon as we have it, if we get a Kershaw update or a Stone update, you'll be the first to hear it if you're following us here. That is Matthew Moreno. I am Jeff Spiegel, folks. Enjoy the rest of your day. And as always, go Dodgers.